Hey guys, B Ray here, subbing for Tanks. He's currently hosting a seminar on how to pull off a man bun without looking like a douche. He asked me to do the video this week and he wrote the script for me, including the man bun part. Critical Role Recap, Season 2, Episode 40. Last week, the Mighty Nein traveled through a snake man and lizard thingy infested island with the aid of Captain Avantika and her scout Jumanji Kostko. They made it through the lizard man city and into the pyramid temple at the center. There they faced off with the lizard dudes and a giant head regrowing hydra, which they finally defeated at the end of the episode. And that's where we picked up with this week's episode. Having just taken out the Hydra, the Mighty Nein together with Captain Avantika began their search of the area. They discovered some murals carved into the stone walls around them. The three murals each depicted a crowd of onlookers stood over by three seemingly divine humanoids who were all observing a giant beast of some kind. The first one was a giant phoenix-type creature with dark purple flames as its body and three onyx gemstones as its eyes that was soaring in the sky. The second was a snake lizard thing that had amber eyes and looked like the effigies Avantika had in her captain's quarters. This giant creature seemed to be creating a giant tidal wave or something. And the third one was some type of huge worm creature that burrowed through the earth and formed mountains. So basically, three godlike things that seemed to have control over three different elements: air, water, and earth. Bo did a religion check and discovered that these three entities were basically avatars of old gods that had somehow survived after the upheaval event and had basically started to become gods in their own rights, with worshippers giving them more power. Caleb noticed some magical runes along the pillars thanks to his enhanced vision due to the fact that he was still tripping balls off those apples they found in the underground orchard. He recognized the magic as being some type of abjuration, which is a kind of protection or warding magic. So it's likely that the temple acts as a seal for locking away one or all of these deities. He noticed that the wards seemed to travel down into the well that the Hydra had emerged from during their fight. Fjord and Avantika had a similar realization at the same time, and Avantika immediately dove down into the well. Fjord was held up briefly by Caleb explaining to him about the magical wards, so once Fjord jumped into the water, Avantika had a fair lead on him. His armor gives him the ability to travel in water at his normal rate of movement, so he did manage to finally catch up with her, but only after they reached the bottom of this well that opened up into a larger basin. Fjord and Avantika began to scrape off the accumulated muck on the bottom, searching for anything related to their deity. Fjord managed to scrape the muck away and found a rounded inset that was the perfect size for the orb inside of him. Not knowing how to summon the orb itself, he instead summoned up his sword with the eye in the hilt. When Avantika noticed this, she swam over and rushed to stick the eye in her palm into the opening before Fjord put the eye in his sword in it. She beat him in an initiative roll and successfully managed to stick her eye/hand in first. When she pulled away, there was a cloven gem where the inset had been, and her eye was gouged out of her hand. Immediately, giant cracks appeared emanating from the center and going all the way up into the part of the temple where the rest of the Mighty Nein was waiting. The water started to quickly flow up and out of the well into the chamber where they were. Avantika and Fjord both started to make a mad dash upward to the exit, and Fjord briefly attempted to hold Avantika down with him. He failed at his attempt, but succeeded at deceiving her into thinking it wasn't murderous intent. They caught up with the Mighty Nein, but the water kept flowing in as they made their way back to the underground orchard. They managed to figure out how to get the center of the room to descend back down so they could climb them, and through Caleb's use of his spells to modify the size of creatures, he made Caduceus twice his size, and Mr. Clay then used his new size to help lift everyone out of the chamber. As they continued their way out of the temple, the water kept flowing in and eventually caught up with them as they ran into a few more lizard thingy guards. They swam and fought the lizard dudes at the same time while still making their way to the exit. They all started to run out of air, and all of them came very close to drowning. Mr. Clay did begin drowning and fell unconscious as they reached the very top of the chamber. The water was blocked behind the locked seal they had closed behind them on their first entry, but once they got it open, the pressure of the water forced them all violently out and launched them into the air. Caleb and Knot used feather fall to prevent fall damage, and once they reached the ground, the water's force swept them all down the pyramid steps and through the city. They were noticed by some of the lizard dude thingies and continued to make their escape through the jungle. With some quick thinking and lucky rolls, they evaded escape until they finally reached the beach, where they encountered more lizard dude guys and snake homies. Luckily, they were in sight of their ship by this point, as they made a mad dash for the skiff they had padded onto shore. Captain Avantica's ship opened fire on the pursuing snake and lizard bros. Avantica used her newfound power to control the water and used it to speed their little skiff like it was a motorboat safely back to her ship. They all ended up safely on Captain Avantica's ship and were congratulated by Avantica for their bravery and combat proficiency. The rest of the episode was spent with them discussing their plans for Fjord to possibly try and find a temple to gain the power for himself, or if they wanted to prevent any more seals from breaking, and how to slip the grasp of Captain Avantica, hopefully parting ways on good terms with her. Fjord finally did slap fish with Captain Avantica after they discussed Fjord's mentor and shared information about how he had apparently owned the sword Fjord now wielded, and that's basically where the episode ended off. They decided to stay on board with Avantica, at least until they made it back to the pirate port where they were headed, and discussed trying to talk Avantica into giving them the mistake back so they could divide and conquer the search for more temples and cloven gems. So the Mighty Nein are back on the pirate ship and headed for a pirate port where they will attempt to part ways with Captain Avantica and try to seek out the rest of the gems or temples and decide how best to go about preventing releasing these gods. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. So thanks for watching, and Tanks will see you next time.